I don't know what that dream is that you have. I don't care how disappointing it might have been as you've been working toward that dream. That dream that you're holding in your mind, that it's possible.
Is it cause I see things differently? Picture things vividly. Bring it all to life through the words of my ministry. High-depth imagery, I'll put it more simply. Show myself approved since I read the book of Timothy. Then I got my study on, I had an epiphany. Israel is the chosen, some accuse us of bigotry. But I'm not ashamed, though they charge me of arrogance. The things that I say are far-fetched to Americans. Yahweh on high, I ask you in reverence. Please give us the heathen as our inheritance. Psalms 2 and 8, cause their payback is overdue. Words of the psalmist now a hip-hop foldable. Lies that they told you, poison like a cobra bite. Keep God's laws and erase us up overnight. Read the scriptures daily, stay away from lust and greed. You can move them out with the face of a mustard seed. All things are possible, black people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, Hispanic people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, black people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, Hispanic people wake up. The world's about to change. It was Abraham that fathered us. This land was so marvelous. They stole our identity so they could be a part of us. Now they don't acknowledge us. You know it's real drastic when they say God is white and the nation's been grafted in. But I sit back and laugh at them. We changing our nation. The truth can't be hid. This is the age of information. So run, tell your president, Congress, and senator. A real Benjamite, I ain't falling for that kind of stuff. Fake Egyptology, no blood relation. The covenants are ours and not for no other nation. And we're his creation, so I'ma do the Father's will. Babylon is done watching the eagle on the dollar bill. An owl that they tried to hide can't fool me easily. Smile in my face, but plotting on me secretly. Read your scriptures daily, stay away from lust and greed. You can move a mountain with the face of a mustard seed. All things are possible, black people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, Hispanic people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, black people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob. All things are possible, Hispanic people wake up. The world's about to change. They say the government is watching them, fringed up cardigan. I wanna be a part of them saints that go marching in. First we gotta figure out what really ails us. The world turned their back and the church system failed us. Fed us to swine, said we was under grace. Took our identity, gave it to another race. Message to Esau, time's up, you're not a Jew. My people waking up, cause all things are possible. All things are possible, black people wake up. All things are possible, Hispanic people wake up. The world belongs to us, it's a new day for Jacob. All things are possible, black people wake up. All things are possible, Hispanic people wake up. The world's about to change, God created it for Jacob.
Shalom, 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 peace to the family. Let me apologize for the technical difficulties I was having just a moment ago. It's crazy. My computer just shut down all of a sudden and rebooted in the midst of the live. So I'm gonna have to start over. So if you was on the original live that I was doing, I'm gonna repeat myself at first, but then we're gonna get into it, all right? Family, just let me know how I sound. Do I sound okay? Is it lagging? Let me know if I sound okay or if it's lagging. As y'all can see, I'm using that new software I was telling you brothers and sisters about. So I really haven't had a chance to really sit down and really spend some time with this software. So it's gonna still look a little crazy. I apologize. Just let me know if I sound okay. AC G-Man, shalom to you. One mind, one body, Yah spirit, all praise to the Most High, shalom to you. Obadiah Yadiah, shalom to you. Missy Simka, shalom to you. Dexter Thomas Israel, shalom to you. Just help me out though, fam. How do I sound? How do I sound? If I sound okay, hit 1. If it's lagging on your end or anything, hit 2. Okay, so one body says AV is on point. Shalom to you, Black Av. Just trying to make sure everything is good. Until I really get good with the software. Just give me like another week or so with the software. And I'll be much better. I'm going to bring y'all some definitely better production. Once again, I apologize to everybody that was on the original live. And I don't plan on being on this live long. I wanted to do this in under an hour. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. I see all the ones on the comment board, so thank y'all for y'all patience. I want to wish everybody that's observing the Sabbath this evening a blessed Sabbath. May the Most High bless you on the Sabbath. And that's pretty much it. If you were on the last live, I made some announcements. If you weren't on the last live, I'll make the announcements next live stream. The only announcement I'm going to make that I made on the last live stream is about this upcoming Sunday. So if you missed the last live stream, I'm going to repeat myself. This upcoming Sunday, I'm having 2 elders on the panel, on the platform, and we're going to discuss the High Holy Days coming up in 2019, because I've been getting a lot of questions about the High Holy Days in 2019. I'm being asked, why is it if we kept the Feast of Dedication on a certain date, and we kept the feast, or we're going to keep the Feast of Purim on a certain date? I'm being asked, why is it that we're having the Passover in April instead of March? Because based on when we kept dedication, and based on when we're going to keep Purim, brothers have rightfully asked, why are we not keeping the Passover in March? So I kind of wanted to go over that with brothers and sisters that's going to be on the line. It's really important. We're coming into America's so-called High Holy Day season. Christmas, Christmas, New Year's. We celebrate Easter and Thanksgiving and all the rest of these so-called High Holy Days. And we knew everything about it. The ups, the downs, the in-betweens, the good, the bad, the ugly, we knew. So we need to have that same amount of knowledge when it comes to our High Holy Days. So if you're not sure how it is we calculate these High Holy Days, you definitely want to be on the live stream on Sunday. The brothers are going to definitely go in on that, all right? Also, Passover 2019 is being kept in Cleveland, Ohio. 7 camps are participating, but you don't have to be a member of a camp to participate. You know, it's all love. We love all of our people. So if you're not... if you don't already have a place to celebrate Passover, give a phone call to the number that's at the bottom of your screen, and I'll give you the information that you need. Passover will be held in Cleveland, Ohio, this upcoming April 2019. I just attended the Truth Explosion in Cleveland last month. I believe it was last month in November. Last month in November, and it was fantastic. They did a great job out there. I've been to Cleveland 3 times. The hospitality is off the hook. So shout out to I Am Israel, Asha Sha'ala, his wives and the family out there in Cleveland. They do a great job hosting. So I know the Passover is going to be off the chain. If you don't have a place to congregate, you definitely are welcome at the Maccabees Alliance. Passover is going to be 7 different camps there, as well as just a lot of random brothers and sisters that don't have a body to fellowship with. Okay? All right. So, like I said, if you were on the last live stream, if you have any questions about what I just said, the phone number's there. Just give us a call, all right? And I can answer whatever questions you have concerning that or my camp. If I don't pick up, one of the other elders in the camp will pick up and get back to you, all right? I wanted to talk a little bit about Christmas because the Christmas spirit, that demonic spirit called Christmas, is killing me. Every time I leave my house, everywhere I go, and if I go into a store, they're playing Christmas carols out the wazoo. When I go to my slave, which they call a job, they're playing Christmas carols out the wazoo. I expect it, of course. We're in captivity. This is what it is. But I don't think a lot of our people really know the origins, the early origins of Christmas and what it is. We all know certain things. And some of the things that I'm going to bring out in this live stream, you probably already know, and maybe some of the things you don't know, okay? But if this is your first time hearing this stuff, you definitely would like to share this information with someone else after you watch this live stream, right? So we're going to get right down into why we're here, because I don't want to be on this live stream too long, all right? So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show you this picture. How many of you brothers and sisters, when you were growing up, you actually saw this picture, right? That is supposed to be a picture of Jesus. That's the Jesus the majority of us grew up with. That old hippie-looking Charles Manson, so-called white man, right? Looking like a homosexual. That's actually Cesare Borgia, the son of Pope Alexander VI, that posed for the image of Jesus Christ. But that's the image of Christ that we all grew up with, the majority of us anyway. And he's boxing the devil. And if you see the caption at the top of the image, it says, "The Fall of Satan," right? So Satan is depicted as being none other than a black man. He's depicted as being black. That's not by accident. We're going to come back to this because what you're looking at right here also can be correlated to some of the early traditions of Christmas where the so-called white man depicts the black man as being the devil. And I'm going to show you that right now, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to watch this video right here that we watched before on the last live stream. We're going to watch it again, all right? So let's check this video out.
2,000 years ago, the German god Wodan drove around on a white horse with two black raven who eavesdropped on people through the chimney and tattled to their boss. That sounds familiar. And throughout history, there have been traditions where people paint themselves black around New Year's to impersonate the devil or to...
Okay, so now question. Did you hear what he just said? Because we're going to come back to this video. He said throughout the Middle Ages, there were traditions where people painted themselves black to imitate the devil. We just saw that in this image that I showed you right here. We just saw that, right? So now, remember, we're talking about Christmas. Remember, we're talking about Christmas. Let's listen again.
Ta-da! And then we... or to scare the kids. Ta-da! And then we have St. Nicholas.
Let's go back a little bit. My bad, family.
Or to scare the kid. Familiar. And throughout history, there have been traditions where people paint themselves black around New Year's to impersonate the devil or to scare the kids. Ta-da! And then we have St. Nicholas, who visits Dutch and Belgian households around December 5th. Hello. At first, he drops in alone. Well, him and his horse, of course. But in 1850, he gets a companion. That's when the storybook St. Nicholas and His Servant appears. In these pictures, we see our good saint accompanied for the first time by a somewhat dark-skinned employee. Not that strange, really, because in those days, many distinguished people had colored servants. And by hiring this minion, St. Nick can focus on his core business as a friend to all children, while his subordinate manages the old-fashioned bag and rob. At first, the black assistant is an idiot who can't even speak properly. But slowly, he evolves into a power Pete. The sometimes somewhat distracted good saint grows dependent on his skilled management assistant. And whether or not Pete is black from all that soot or not, it just wouldn't be the same without him.
Right, so what they did in this video is they painted this thing to be very innocuous, very, very, very just like, you know, non-threatening. That's the way they painted this this particular video that we just watched. But if you pay attention, we're going to come back to this video because there was some very, very powerful things in there. So one of the things they mentioned in this video is that Saint Nicholas, or as they call him, Sinterklaas, he has a assistant, as they said, or a servant, right? The servant's name is Zwarte Piet. The word Zwarte just means black. That's what it means, all right? Sometimes you'll see that Schwartz or Schwarze or Zwarte, depending on what, the lingual shift of what country you're in. This means black. Piet, which is Pete, right? Let's read a little bit about Black Pete. Zwarte Piet, Black Pete, or Black Peter, Luxembourgish, is the companion of St. Nicholas. In the folklore of the Low Countries, the character first appeared in an 1850 book by Amsterdam schoolteacher Jan Schenkum. Traditionally, Zwarte Piet is black because he is a Moor from Spain. Those portraying Zwarte Piet usually put on blackface makeup and colorful Renaissance attire in addition to curly wigs and bright red lipstick. In recent years, the character has become the subject of controversy. All right, let's go down now to the history of Zwarte Piet. This is the part that we want right here. Okay, check this thing out right now. Check this out. The history of Zwarte Piet, right? According to Helene Adeline Gruber and others, the origin of Sinterklaas and his helpers has been linked by some to the wild hunt of Odin. Riding the white horse Sleipnir, he flew through the air as the leader of the wild hunt. He was always accompanied by 2 black ravens, Hugin and Munin. These helpers would listen, just like Zwarte Piet at the chimney, which was just a hole in the roof at the time, to tell Odin about the good and bad behavior of the mortals below. This is kind of correlating with what you learn in America about Christmas. They say that St. Nicholas, he knows if you're good, he knows if you're bad. America has the watered down version of this story. This is more the original. This is more the traditional version that comes from Europe, which America watered down. Okay, as we're going to read right here. Let's continue. All right. The St. Nicholas tradition contains a number of elements that are not ecclesiastical in origin. In medieval iconography, St. Nicholas is sometimes presented as taming a chained devil. So originally, St. Nicholas was associated with taming the devil. That was the story of St. Nicholas. You would see in certain images St. Nicholas taming the devil. Remember, I just showed you, brothers and sisters, this icon right here that has a lot to do with it. White St. Nicholas, white Jesus, black devil. Same thing over here. Let's read this again. The St. Nicholas tradition contains a number of elements that are not ecclesiastical in origin. In medieval iconography, St. Nicholas is sometimes presented as taming a chained devil who may or may not be black. So the devil was portrayed as being black, right? That's all I really needed for that right now. Now watch this, right? Let's move on. Let's move on. The devil's name was called Krampus. That was the name of the devil. It was called Krampus, right? Now, let's read a little bit about Krampus. In Central European folklore, Krampus is a horned anthropomorphic figure described as half goat and half demon. During the Christmas season, he punishes children who have misbehaved, in contrast with St. Nicholas. So in the original story, St. Nicholas, his adversary was Krampus. And so if you misbehave or if you were bad, they would send this demon after you, which is Krampus, which, as we're going to read on, you're going to see that demon became a black man. Because the black man is associated with being the devil. That's what they did with the Christmas story. That's why I say, if you're conscious, I don't understand how you celebrate Christmas, because you guys claim to study. How you don't know this stuff? Let's continue. So it says, Krampus is a horned anthropomorphic figure described as half goat, half demon, who during the Christmas season punishes children who have misbehaved, in contrast with St. Nicholas, who rewards the well-behaved with gifts. Krampus is one of the companions of St. Nicholas in several regions, including Austria, Bavaria, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Hungary, northern Italy, including South Tyrol and the province of Trento, Slovakia, Slovenia. The origin of the figure is unclear. Some folklorists and anthropologists have postulated it has a pre-Christian origin. Okay? So Krampus, or the devil, was the companion of St. Nicholas originally. He was the companion of St. Nicholas. Now, let's see. What do I want out of here? There was something else out of this article that I wanted to... here we go. Appearance. Right here. Appearance. Although Krampus appears in many variations, most share some common physical characteristics. He is hairy, usually brown or black, and has cloven hooves and horns of a goat. His long pointed tongue rolls out, and he has fangs. So Krampus appears in images as being black. You can see that right on the side of your screen right here. This goes back to this image that was pushed in Christianity. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. The origin of Christmas had the good white St. Nicholas, or Santa Claus, and his companion was the devil, a black man, just like you got in Christianity. Same thing. Same thing. Let's go. Let's come back. All right. Krampus carries chains to symbolize the binding of the devil by the Christian church. He thrashes the chains for dramatic effect. The chains are sometimes accompanied with bells of various sizes. Of pagan origins are the rootin, the bundles of birch branches that Krampus carries, and with which he occasionally swats children. The rootin may have had significance in pre-Christian pagan initiation rites. The birch branch are placed with a whip in some presentations. Sometimes a Krampus appears with a sack or a basket strapped to his back. This is to cart off evil children for drowning, eating, or transportation to hell. Some of the older versions make mention of a naughty child being put in a bag and taken away. This quality can be found in other companions of St. Nicholas, such as who? Swarte Pete, Black Pete. So basically what they did is the original Christmas tradition of Sinterklaas, which later became Santa Claus, the original Christmas tradition was that you had Santa Claus, a so-called white man, and you had the devil that was always portrayed as being black. And the black devil, if you were bad, would take you, put you in the bag, and he would either eat you or drown you or something else. Later on, they changed the devil into who? Swarte Pete. Who is Swarte Pete? We just read it. Swarte Pete, we're coming back to the article, is usually depicted as a black person because he is a Moor. Y'all see that right here? Swarte Pete is depicted as black because he is a Moor. So they turned the tradition, first of all, it started off as the devil, and then the devil turned into a black man because as far as the so-called white man as a Christian is concerned, the black man and the devil is the same thing. That's why a lot of people, when they came over to the New World with the Native Americans, they gave them that Christianity. That's why a lot of them look at us the way they look at us. They look at us because they were taught that we're the devil. They were taught that in their religion, that we are the devil. That's where you get this image from. This is the same thing that's being taught in Christianity. You have a white Jesus, and what color is the devil? Black. Just like your original Christmas tradition, it's all the same. Now check this out real quick. I didn't open up this tab from the last time, so I'm gonna do it right here with y'all on the I'm gonna do it right here with you guys on the live stream, right? Let's come right here to this, and let's type it in. It should be in my memory. Let's see what we have here. Yep, here we go. Here we go. Right here. Sinterklaas and the devil, right? So here we are on Google Images, right? I typed in, you can see what I typed in at the top. Sinterklaas and the devil. Now, if you look at what you find right here, right? In the earliest traditions, just like they said, this is Krampus. And he would take the bad children and he would put them in a bag and he would eat them or drown them. This is another depiction. Same thing, right? Depicted as being black, depicted as being brown. He was the companion of St. Nick. In another picture right here, you have St. Nicholas, right? So-called St. Nicholas, and behind him you have the devil. But as you scroll down and look at the images, you begin to see the transformation where the devil went from being an anthropomorphic figure like this to looking like a black man. As the tradition evolved, they replaced the devil with a black man. Why? Because to the white man in Christianity, right, black people are the devil. That's what they're pushing. So if you are a so-called black man or a black woman and you call yourself conscious and you're celebrating Christmas without having actually went and did the research to see where it comes from, you're not conscious. I'm hearing conscious people talk about they celebrating Christmas. I'm hearing conscious people talk about that they're wrapping gifts. One conscious brother built a gingerbread house with his son on the internet, on his channel. Built a gosh goodness gingerbread house with his son for Christmas. But you're supposed to be a teacher of our people. What kind of nonsense is going on? I don't understand it. It makes no sense. It makes no sense, right? Excuse me. Excuse me, family. Now, another thing too, right? As the tradition of Sinterklaas evolved, right? It became affiliated or associated with Christianity. That's why in some of these images you're seeing, excuse me, family. That's why in some of the images you're seeing him with a cross on his head, right? Now, if you look at this hat that Santa Claus, or so-called Santa Claus, is wearing, right? Does that hat look familiar to you guys? Look at it right here in this image right here. Does this image look familiar to you guys? I'm going to show you something. Some of these tabs closed out when I was when I got logged out the last time. So I'll just bring it up. We can do it as we're talking. What you'll notice is the hat. You see the hat that the Pope is wearing? The hat that the Pope is wearing, that is not just an innocuous hat. That hat goes back to the priesthood of Dagon. That's where it goes back to. Dagon is what they call the fish god, right? And Dagon wore a fish hat on his head, all right? And one of the ways that you know Roman Catholicism is paganism is because you can see right here the popes, they wear that same fish head hat that Dagon wore. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Hope everybody can see that, right? It's the same thing. Here you have the latest pope right here wearing that same Dagon fish hat. Same thing, okay? You have some ancient carvings of the same thing on the walls here. That's not the point, right? When you come back to the image of Santa Claus, as the tradition evolved, you begin to see him wearing that same pagan hat on his head, all right? This is a pagan tradition. That is why, let's go here for a second. That is why Christmas was banned in the United States in the 1600s for a few years. Let's read about that, right? Let's read about that real quick. Right here. Now, I saw a meme circulating on Facebook earlier today and over the last week, and it says that Christmas was banned in the United States till 1836. That's not 100% correct. It's not 100% correct. So let's read this article right here. Christmas was not illegal in the U.S. before 1836. That's the title of the article. So there's a claim, a social media post circulating online that Christmas was illegal in the U.S. until 1836 as it was considered an ancient pagan holiday. That's why I tell brothers and sisters, don't be so fast to hit the share button on a meme until you research it first to make sure that the meme is actually on point, okay? So the AP's assessment is the claim is false. The details of this post are incorrect. Though Christmas was not as widely celebrated in the early 1800s, it was not illegal throughout the country. However, one colony did make it illegal to celebrate Christmas in 1659. That colony was Massachusetts. Let's read on. All right. It says here, the facts. The post circulating on Facebook carries a photo of what purports to be a public notice stating the observation of Christmas has been deemed a sacrilege and detailing practices including exchanging gifts, dressing in fine clothes, feasting that have been forbidden. The claim is bogus. Stephen Nissenbaum, author of The Battle for Christmas, told the Associated Press. However, he noted that there was a caveat. The Massachusetts Bay Colony Ordinance of 1659, which made it illegal to celebrate Christmas in that specific colony. So in Massachusetts, Christmas was considered to be illegal. That's true. Okay? Now, it says, in fact, Nussbaum said that by 1836, Christmas had taken on its familiar modern form with Santa Claus and holiday shopping in the United States. Christopher Klein, author of the history of the article, when Massachusetts banned Christmas, noted that the Christmas was not recognized as a federal holiday until 1870. It wasn't recognized as a federal holiday until 1870, all right? Just so you brothers and sisters know that. So coming back to this, these images right here, as I said, you could clearly see now the evolution of what Christmas is. Christmas started off as a pagan holiday, number one, because the popes in them, they have pagan traditions. Like this hat right here. It's a dead giveaway that Christmas is a pagan religion, has nothing to do with the birth of Christ whatsoever. In addition, us as black people, we were depicted as being the devil. They started off with an image of an actual demon that was black or brown, but the story evolved and eventually that demon was replaced by a black man because it's one and the same. And this tradition of so-called Sinterklaas and Zwarte Piet is the same thing that we see in these images that are circulated in Christianity, where you have the fake white Jesus, Cesare Borgia, and it says the fall of Satan, and he's knocking out the devil, which is a black man. How are we going to teach this to our children? How can we call ourselves conscious and we don't research what it is that we're celebrating? How do we do that? It doesn't make no sense. Okay? So now you got to take this information and you have to pass it on and disseminate it to our people. Christmas in America is a watered down version of a racist tradition that comes from Europe, right? So now let's go back to the video that I showed you at the beginning and let's start again, because now that we have this information, now certain things the author or the narrator is going to say is going to make a little more sense. Let's watch this video again. Let's go. I'm going to bring it back to the beginning. Let's watch it again. Let's go. And I want y'all to listen carefully. I'm going to stop it and narrate a little bit of my own. Listen carefully.
2,000 years ago, the German god Wodan drove around on a white horse with 2 black raven who eavesdropped on people through the chimney and tattled to their boss. That sounds familiar. And throughout history, there have been traditions where people paint themselves black around New Year's to impersonate the devil.
Did y'all hear that? Did we not show that? Throughout history, there is times where people painted themselves black to impersonate the devil. What do we see right here? Where is it? Krampus? When you come down to the appearance of Krampus, Krampus originally is this demon right here. This demonic image right here is Krampus, but eventually he was replaced with a character called Zwarte Piet. And who is Zwarte Piet? Zwarte Piet is a Moor. So they eventually had the devil be portrayed as a black man throughout history. That's what this is telling you. They're telling you this, but the narrator is telling it to you in a way that's like harmless. That if you don't know the history, you're like, oh, okay, this is nothing. But it's something. Let's listen again. Let's go.
Throughout history, there have been traditions where people paint themselves black around New Year's to impersonate the devil.
So the black man is the devil. That's what this is saying. So the tradition of Christmas in certain countries, the black man is the devil. Just so you know. That's why I'm talking to conscious people, because I don't expect people that's not conscious to know this stuff. But we're supposed to know this stuff. Let's go.
Or to scare the kids.
Ta-da!
And then we have St. Nicholas, who visits Dutch and Belgian households around December 5th. Hello. At first, he drops in alone. Well, him and his horse, of course. But in 1850, he gets a companion. That's when the storybook St. Nicholas and His Servant appears.
So now did y'all hear that? In 1850, Krampus, or the devil, was replaced with St. Nicholas getting a servant. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. In certain traditions in certain country, it tells you that Zwarte Piet is St. Nicholas's slave. See, in America, they tell you that St. Nicholas or Santa Claus has his helpers or his elves. But in certain traditions in Europe that predate the American tradition of Christmas, Zwarte Piet and the other blacks that are working and the other helpers that Santa Claus has, they are his slaves. This guy replaces the word slave with a servant. But we're awake, so we know what time it is. We know exactly what it is that he's saying. Let's listen to that again.
And his horse, of course. But in 1850, he gets a companion. That's when the storybook St. Nicholas and His Servant appears. In these pictures, we see our good saint accompanied for the first time by a somewhat dark-skinned employee. Not that strange, really, because in those days, many distinguished people had colored servants.
Many distinguished people in those days had colored servants. Many distinguished people in those days had slaves. And so did Sinterklaas, who became your Santa Claus. You had slaves. Let's go.
And by hiring this minion, Saint Nick can focus on his core business as a friend to all children.
And notice even in the video,
subordinate manages the old-fashioned.
And notice even in the video, they have the Pope wearing the Dagon priest hat. Same hat that the Pope wears. The hat is all the way from the priesthood of Dagon. You have to understand symbolism when you're looking at it. Okay? Nothing that these dudes are wearing, it means nothing. Everything has a meaning. The same way when we put on our Israelite garments, everything has a meaning. If we're wearing fringes, it has a meaning. If there's a menorah on your garment, it has a meaning. Okay? If your garment has 4 corners, like a lot of our garments have the 4 corners, there's a reason for that. Okay? It's the same thing when you see these guys wearing these outfits. There's a reason for everything. Let's continue.
bag and rob. At first, the black assistant is an idiot who can't even speak properly. But slowly, he evolves into a power Pete. The sometimes somewhat distracted good saint grows dependent on his skilled management assistant. And whether or not Pete is black from all that soot or not, it just wouldn't be the same without him.
All right, so now we got the understanding of what that's about. So now, here's the next thing. So let's come back here for a second, right? So the story is that Zwarte Piet is a Moor. That's the story, right? We're going to come here now. What is this? Let's see what this is. Okay. Let's come here for a second. All right. This is called, the video is called Russell Brand and Black Peter, Our Colonial Hangover. Let's watch a little bit of this video and let's see what it's all about. Let's watch.
Would you like some candy?
Yeah. Why are you blacked out?
So let's stop right there, right? Let's stop for a second. So the tradition in these countries like the Netherlands and all these other countries that we just read about in the article, right? Let's go back to the article real quick. The tradition that we read about in the article says that Pete is a Moor. Y'all see that, right? He's a Moor, right? And let me see something. So basically, when you read this article, it lets you know that this holiday is celebrated like in the Netherlands. It's also celebrated in Germany. Right here, this is what I was looking for. Right, the tradition could be found in Austria, Germany, Swiss, Hungarian, Czechoslovakia. All these countries right here, it could be found in. All right. Now, Zwarte Piet is supposed to be a Moor. However, when you watch this video, what do you notice? You have white people putting on blackface, just like they do over here. They put on that blackface and they impersonate us in the blackface. That's what they do. Let's continue.
Does it?
Yeah.
We're black from going through the chimney. I don't get you.
Come on, man. Look at, like I said, look at this. Does this, look at the lips, honestly. My lips do not go from cheek to cheek.
Do y'all see what he's holding right there? That's supposed to be like an image of Zwarte Piet. If you look right here where my arrow is, I don't know if you guys can see it or not, right? That's the image of Sambo with the big lips. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Y'all see the image of Little Black, like this one right here. You see the image of what's called Little Black Sambo, the pop-up book, Little Black Sambo. Do you see the exaggerated big red lips that they have on this book right here? Do you see that? And this one right here, you have the so-called Mammy character. And Little Sambo with the exaggerated big lips. And this one right here too, same thing. Well, the so-called white man in Europe, when they portray Zwarte Piet, they do the same thing. It's the same image of Sambo. Y'all can see it right there in his hand. Y'all should be able to see that. So this is a 100% racist tradition that's still going on in England today, in the Netherlands today, in Austria today, in Czechoslovakia today. And our Christmas tradition in America comes from this. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back a little bit. Just a little bit. Let's go.
Come on, man. Look at, like I said, look at this. Does this, look at the lips, honestly. My lips do not go from cheek to cheek, to here to here. This is offensive. This is terrible. And this is what you sell. This is what they sell.
Yes.
Are you taking the piss?
We're servants of Santa Claus in
No,
Holland.
you're fucking taking the piss. You can't fucking start backing up and putting black makeup on.
Yeah. See, look, noble Father Christmas surrounded by his foolish knave.
Look at the images in the book.
Look at this next one. Then they come to Holland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they bring all the goods.
I mean, you've seen the famous images of the slave ships.
Yes, that is immediately.
Do y'all see that? Do y'all see that? You have all these black servants packed into a ship that's going from one country to another with Santa Claus. How do we come to the? What was the transatlantic slave? What was the transatlantic slave trade about? Ships. Ships. It's the same thing. Do y'all see this? It's the same thing. So this whole Christmas tradition in Europe is basically racism in plain sight. You have a black person called Zwarte Piet that's being portrayed as being the devil, and he's Santa's servant or Santa Claus's servant or slave, and his servants and slaves all travel around on a ship with him and cramped up in close quarters. Y'all can see that in the book. And if you can't really see it, the title of the video is there. Y'all can go watch the video for yourself. Y'all see this? This is crazy.
Then they come to Holland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they bring all the goods. I mean,
So you've seen the famous images of the slave ships.
yes, that is immediately.
Could be straight out of it. Oh my God.
How they can't see. Wow, that's offensive.
Look at that. Look at that. Let's stop right there. Damn, hold up a second.
People have been oppressed.
Look at that. Wait, I'm sorry. Let's pause it. Look at that. Look at the slaves. Look at the servants on the ship. Look at that. All of them drawn with the same exaggerated big red lips and stuff, just like the Sambo image that we had here. But this is supposed to be some Christmas celebration that they're doing in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And I just had one of the brothers, Apostle for Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah. He said, because I believe the brother is located in Europe, I'm not sure what country he's in. He said they just had that feast where I am in Amsterdam. He just said it, in Amsterdam. They just had that feast. This is your Christmas. This is it. This is what you're celebrating. You're just celebrating in America, not you, brothers and sisters that's on this live, not those of us that know who we are, but our people. This is what you're celebrating. You're celebrating down a watered down version of you being the devil and being a slave to a man named Santa Claus. That's what you're doing, or that's what our people are doing. And you have conscious people that will celebrate this holiday. That's what's crazy. Like I said, there's one conscious brother that was on the internet, on his channel, building a gingerbread house with his child for Christmas. And you conscious and you teaching. What? Crazy. Crazy. Let's go.
Put this in the face of people who've been oppressed,
Yeah.
who've been slaves. You know, you cannot then say this is, and here's what we think of you. You know,
Yeah.
and that's what you look like, and that's how we'll put you in a book.
Yeah, what's
you
it
know,
doing to kids?
Like,
Think
you know,
about the kids.
Look at that. That's Zwarte Piet, family. That's Zwarte Piet. When these so-called white people look at us, that's what these white people look at us, that's what they see. And guess what? They don't see nothing wrong with it. They see nothing wrong with it. See, sometimes what you got to understand is not every white person is going to have on a Klan hat or a neo-Nazi swastika on their chest. Or they're not going to have that or be walking around with that Confederate flag. Not all of them. Some of them is going to be walking around and they're going to be racist as hell. And you know what? They don't even know it because it's normal to them. It's normal for them. This is how we look to them. And I'm going to tell you something. These ideas of the so-called Christmas and Zwarte Piet, they brought that over here to the New World in the form of what? Christianity. They just put a different spin on it. They took Santa Claus out and they put Cesare Borgia in, but the devil still stayed black. How about that? Let's go. I'm almost finished. We're almost done. We ain't gonna be long.
What this tradition does is it dehumanizes people that are of a different ethnicity and reduces them to a lower status of either toys or...
Look at those toys. Look at that. You ever saw a black person whose lips were that big? You ever saw that? You never saw that. What's the difference between this, which they say is not racist? Because you'll find a lot of videos, y'all can do your own research. You'll find a lot of videos where they say this is not racist. This is just a Christmas tradition. That's all it is. What's the difference between Zwarte Piet like this and Sambo like this? What's the difference? There's no difference. But the conscious community will tell us this is racist. This is racist. This was racism when this was going on in this country. But then you'll celebrate Christmas not knowing it's the same. They have the same tradition. They have the exact same tradition. Let's go.
A degenerative role as servants. No, I thought, like, we think of Holland, in this country, we think of Holland as a very advanced nation with advanced social principles, so it's very surprising to see this kind of tradition.
With lots of...
Well, I don't know, I think it's a colonial hangover. We're scared of your tradition.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
What if it was my local custom?
Yeah.
To, you know,
Yeah.
chuck something at you. What if it was my local custom to be totally offensive? And maybe it is. It's part of me that really wants to kind of give you a whack, you know?
Yeah.
And I think you're really pissing everybody off. Like, you're here, you're winding everybody up, ruining everybody's day.
Yeah, okay,
I don't care if it's a local custom. How about you leave, actually?
Okay.
And that's the excuse that they use. It's a local custom. That's all it is. To them, it's just a local custom. That's it. It means because these people have no humanity. Their racism or their hatred towards our people is so deeply ingrained in their psyche that to them it's just a tradition. This is no different than if you go to certain places down south, right? It's a tradition for them to have the Confederate flag up. It's a tradition. It doesn't really mean nothing. It's a tradition. Even though we know what that flag really means, to some people it's just a tradition. It was passed down to them. To hang a Negro means nothing. It was passed down. To call a black person a nigger is nothing because that was passed down. So that's what they see. That's not racism. You see, you understand what I'm saying? It's so deeply ingrained in them. And these traditions have been passed down to our children and to some of us, but thankfully the Most High woke a lot of us up. That's why we don't deal with these traditions no more. You see what I'm saying? So what we have to do now is that when you tell our people, when we go to Jeremiah the 10th chapter as Israelites and we break down the tree, so forth and so on, all that stuff is good. It's necessary and it's good, but we have to go into this right here. We have to show our people where this tradition really comes from, what this really is. Because I'm telling you, 9.9 out of 10 black people, so-called black and Hispanic people, know nothing about this tradition. Now, I know some other brothers from other camps have gone into this before, but we got to keep talking about it. We got to keep talking about it. Don't just harp on the American tradition of Christmas with Santa and his 12 elves, whatever. Like, don't just harp on that. Really, to really reach our people, we have to go into this and show them this and correlate it to the racism that went on in this country and the Sambo and so forth and so on. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. Okay, let's continue.
What is Fender Play? It's a first-of-its-kind guitar learning platform from the authority in guitars, Fender. Fender Play...
I just got a package from my grandma in Belgium. She sent me one at the beginning of December for as long as I can remember to celebrate St. Nicholas Day. That's when their traditional version of Santa Claus, Sinterklaas, comes to visit kids and reward the good ones and punish the bad ones. And there's always lots of good stuff in here. There are Belgian waffles, there are speculoos cookies, chocolate, there's lots of chocolate. And then sometimes there's this. This is Zwarte Piet, and that's Dutch for Black Pete, and he's St. Nicholas's traditional assistant. He's the guy who carries all the presents around.
That looks like a black Fred Flintstone. Or am I bugging? That looks like a black Fred Flintstone, a brown Fred Flintstone that they just put some down Sambo lips on top of it. That's what that looks like to me. That's crazy. Okay? Zwarte Piet, St. Nicholas's helper or his servant or his slave, which was originally depicted as what? The devil, Krampus. Originally depicted as the devil Krampus, but they replaced the devil Krampus with Zwarte Piet because black people are the devil. It's all the same to them. It's all the same. Let's go.
And punishes all the bad kids. You can kind of think of him like one of Santa's elves, except he is a blackface caricature. Black Pete has painted black skin and big gold hoop earrings and oversized red lips, and he wears colorful Renaissance-era clothing. Throughout Belgium and the Netherlands, people dress up as Black Pete around St. Nicholas Day. This is what that looked like in 1930 in a small town north of Amsterdam, and in 1970 at a local gym, and in 2006 at an elementary school, and in 2014 at a parade. I grew up with this tradition in Belgium. People dressed up as Black Pete, and St. Nicholas would come visit my school and take pictures and pass out candy. But Black Pete is a racist caricature. It's a remnant of the Netherlands' colonial past, and this tradition is now at the center of a heated political debate.
So what you're about to see, and we're going to end with this video. We're going to go through this video a little bit. We're about to end. You have a lot of people from Ghana that have emigrated to basically the Netherlands, Belgium, and places like that. And those Ghanaians that are migrating to Belgium and to the Netherlands and places like that, let me say this for the record, a lot of them are Israelites. Those are our people. They're Israelites. And so what's happening is they're over there and they're seeing this and they're offended, so they're protesting. That's what's going on, just so you know. Let's go.
It's a bit disturbing to realize that you have enjoyed as a child.
Once again, you can see Santa Claus. Now, you know, in America, you see Santa Claus with that hat with the damn pom-pom ball at the end. That's not the way he's depicted in Europe. In Europe, in Belgium, the Netherlands, he's depicted with this hat right here, which is what? We just went over it 3 or 4 times. Let's do it again. It is from the priesthood of Dagon, the same hat the Pope wears. Same thing. This is all related. Let's go.
Something that now turns out to be problematic. That's disturbing. And so they said, don't mess with my memories.
Those in the Netherlands who defend Black Pete argue that it can't be changed because it's a tradition that's been around forever. The Prime Minister even made this argument when he was asked about it at a nuclear security summit in 2014.
Because what I said is that Black Pete is black, and I cannot change that, because the name is Black Pete.
It's not that you can't change it, you don't want to change it. You don't want to change it.
It is a old children's tradition, Santa Claus and Zwarte Piet, Black Pete. And it is not Green Pete or Brown Pete, it is Black Pete, so I cannot change that.
On top of that, you'll hear a lot of people say that the black face paint is okay because it doesn't represent skin color. Instead, it's just soot from the chimney.
Now, that's a lie. How do we know that's a lie? We already went over this. Let's go over it again. Now they done tried to change it, be politically correct, and say, oh, no, it doesn't represent black people. It represents soot from the chimney. No, 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 no. The original Black Pete was called Black Pete because he was a Moor. That's why. That's why. Okay? Where is it? Let's go back. Let's make sure we get it. Here it is. Zwarte Piet is black because he is a Moor. So that whole thing about coming down the chimney is nonsense. They're saying that because they don't want to change the tradition. That's the problem. That's the problem. Let's go back.
But historically, neither of those defenses is actually true. Zwarte Piet was originally written as a black slave character.
As a what? Zwarte Piet was originally written as a black slave character. He was a slave. So now, if you're celebrating Christmas here in America, even though the tradition has been changed, the origin, every black person needs to notice, the origin of the tradition is that Santa Claus had a slave named Black Pete. That makes a world of difference. That makes a world of difference. Let's go.
The blackface tradition was invented fairly recently. Though St. Nicholas folklore had been celebrated since the Middle Ages, there was no slave character involved until 1850, when this guy, a Dutch schoolteacher named Jan Schenkman, wrote a children's book called St. Nicholas and His Servant. The story describes how St. Nicholas visits a Dutch town, rewarding the good kids and punishing the bad kids. But just looking at the original illustrations for the book, you can tell that Black Pete isn't just a white Dutchman covered in soot. He's portrayed as a Moor from Spain, carrying St. Nicholas's heavy loads, wrapping up all the presents, and punishing naughty kids by hitting them with a switch or kidnapping them in a knapsack to take them back to Spain. He's not exactly a pleasant character in this original version of the story.
What I remember vividly is the sentiment of being scared. What if suddenly a Zwarte Piet comes out of the chimney when I'm there alone?
Listen, Did y'all hear that? She remembers as a child the sentiment of being scared. Think about what that does to the psyche, right? If you have a character as a child called Swarte Pete, that's gonna, if you're bad, he's gonna take you and put you in a bag and take you somewhere and eat you or drown you or kidnap you, whatever. You grow up doing what? Having a fear of black people, specifically black men, which is why you'll see psychologically a white woman clutch her purse every time she sees a black woman. This is what you call propaganda, or the Bible calls it popular persuasion. These innocuous different ways to get people to view us a certain way, and it becomes so embedded in them, they can't shake it. They can't help it. It becomes a part of them. That's what we're dealing with. This thing is deeply ingrained, but they put it in a very so-called harmless way by making it a story about Christmas.
Terrifying. And the terror of young children who don't feel safe is quite a powerful emotion that really stays with you. If you habituate children to this response to these strange characters.
Remember, children grow up to be adults. So as a child, if you fear Swarte Pete, Black Pete, the companion of Santa Claus or Santa Claus, if you grow up being afraid of him, you will grow up and you'll look at all black people that way. It'll be in your psyche. And remember, I keep coming back to this over and over again. This is also the tradition in Christianity. It's the same thing. Let's go.
With black faces, that's their model of black people.
When Shankman wrote his children's book, slavery was still alive and well in the Dutch colonies. It wasn't abolished for another 13 years in 1863, and even then, slaves had to work for another 10 years as reparations to the slaveholders. The government treated abolition as a financial inconvenience. Beyond Dutch history, blackface originated for the purpose of mocking and dehumanizing black people. In minstrel shows in the mid to late 1800s, white actors would use black grease paint on their faces to depict black people on stage. You could watch minstrel shows like this as recently as 1978 on BBC. Taking place in societies that systematically mistreated black people, these portrayals served as a tool of oppression. Though Black Pete is the most beloved blackface character in European culture, he's not the only one. If you look at Belgian comic strips like Tintin, French ones like Asterix and Obelix, or Dutch ones like George and Jimmy, you can see versions of blackface caricatures everywhere. Black Pete, no matter how innocent the Dutch might think him to be, normalizes these portrayals.
Of course it is political. You don't invent a tradition like this in innocence.
It's really common to hear stories about black people being called Zwart Piet by children. It also serves as a basis for racialized bullying in schools.
Black children are hurt, and parents are keeping their children home from school rather than send them to grow up with this stereotype that makes them feel that they're inferior to the white kid.
And it's common to hear people saying that black people in the Netherlands are totally okay with it, that their black neighbor or black friend actually likes it. Here's Prime Minister Rutte, again, making that argument.
I can only say that my friends in the Dutch Antilles, they are very happy when they have Sinterklaas because they don't have to paint their faces. And when I'm playing for Black Pete, I'm for days trying to get off the stuff on my face.
That was the Prime Minister saying that a blackface tradition is really more annoying for him because when he puts on blackface, it's hard to get the paint off.
And these people were angry about Black Pete, who is Santa's traditional sidekick there. 60 people were arrested for demonstrating away from locations that were set aside for protest, 30 more for disturbing public order.
Public opposition to Black Pete has been building since the 1970s. When Suriname won its independence in 1975, almost a third of the population moved to the Netherlands in order to keep their Dutch citizenship. A lot of those people were of African ancestry, and demographic changes brought a change in the way people talked about Black Pete.
Maar Gerda, het is toch hartstikke leuk om een Zwarte Piet te zijn? Ja, dan mag je met een zak lopen en pepernoten strooien.
Oh nee, Ino, het is helemaal niet leuk. Ik heet Gerda, ook als het Sinterklaasfeest is. Kijk, we begrijpen best wel dat Sinterklaas al zo lang komt. En dat het best wel een vrolijk feest is. Maar voor heel veel zwarte mensen, grote mensen en kinderen is het helemaal geen feest. Nee? Nee. We kunnen bijna niet vrolijk zijn.
Still, that didn't stop the show from featuring Black Pete in every yearly St. Nicholas episode after that.
Het is Sinterklaas er niet.
Protest grew steadily, getting international attention in 2011 when two protesters from an awareness campaign called Zwarte Piet is Racism were violently arrested in the city of Dordrecht. The Dutch National Ombudsman later ruled that the arrest was unlawful, disproportionately violent, and in violation of their human rights.
If you have eyes and you have a little heart, you will know that this is wrong.
That's Jerry Afriyie. He was one of the two protesters arrested.
What we are fighting is institutional racism, approved by the government, approved by the police, approved by professionals, approved by schools. Everywhere, this is so much embedded in the whole society that it makes it very difficult to bring changes to it. And everyone is using their power to suppress us. And it's very difficult.
Afriyie lost his job as a security guard after being arrested at a protest a few years ago, but he's kept showing up to demonstrate. Just a week after we spoke, he was violently assaulted by police again at a protest in the city of Rotterdam. In July 2014, Amsterdam's regional court ruled that Black Pete was, quote, a negative stereotype of black people, stating that the mayor had 6 weeks to remove Black Pete from city celebrations. But just a few months later, in November, the Netherlands' highest administrative court overturned that ruling, just in time for the holiday.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
Nou, omdat dit hoort tot onze cultuur. Dat zijn onze waarden en normen. Dat zijn onze tradities die we hebben. En die willen we gewoon behouden.
So basically, your traditions are what's important. Your traditions are important. This guy has no... See how harmless he looks? You see how nice he's speaking? In a nice monotone and calm way? You see that? But his heart is evil. His heart is evil. It's so embedded in him that he thinks it's right. It's crazy.
Laten we niet afnemen door een klein groepje extremisten die Zwarte Piet misbruiken om hun eigen frustratie te uiten.
But in August 2015, a UN committee in Geneva called on the Dutch government to get rid of the aspects of Black Pete that promote black stereotypes. Since then, parade organizers have made some efforts to gradually minimize Black Pete's racist characteristics.
My job, being the spokesperson of Santa Claus, is to make the party of Santa Claus for everybody. Not only the white people in the villages, but for everybody in the cities, in the bigger cities.
One of the ways they've done that is by introducing a version of Black Pete that is clearly just a person covered in soot, without the earrings or the lipstick or an afro. They call it the Chimney Pete. RTL, one of the biggest TV networks in the region, stated in October that they wouldn't air anything except for Chimney Pete for the 2016 holidays.
Now bear in mind the objectives. The objective is to have a smile on the face of the children, to be happy. So if you want to change things, take the time, don't do it overnight. So if you want to change this, an attitude like that, it's not going to go easy.
And in an unexpected announcement, the team organizing the parade in Amsterdam said Chimney Petes would replace all Black Petes in 2016. But changing a tradition like this is slow and difficult. Every move away from Black Pete has been met with resistance. A Jamaican researcher on the UN panel was met with a flurry of racist emails after their statement was released. A group in the northern Netherlands that was planning on dressing as multicolored rainbow Petes had to cancel their plans after getting death threats. And a Dutch contestant at the 2013 Eurovision music competition received racist messages and death threats after she spoke out against the custom.
And how could you possibly make this such a big deal?
Now,
Because
I don't want anybody in the audience to start getting all warm and fuzzy-hearted. We just had our brother in the comment board that's living over in Amsterdam, right on the comment board right here, that said they just had that parade recently. So it's still going on. So don't get warm and fuzzy. Of course, they're going to try to end this segment in a possible way so that you walk away not being upset. But it's still going on. And so we have to bring this out to our people, because our people are over here celebrating a bastardized version of a story where we as black people are depicted as being the devil and being slaves. That is the origin of the Christmas story. Period, point blank.
I've been trained this way in childhood.
People defend the tradition because it was important to their childhood, and they want to pass it on to their children. But understanding the impact this has on children could also be the key to changing public opinion. Just this year, the National Children's Ombudsman released a report arguing that the tradition violates children's rights regarding equal treatment and protection from discrimination.
It has tormented a lot of black people, even children, who start to hate their own skin color, you know, who come home to their parents crying and saying stuff like, I don't want to be black, you know, it's dirty. You know, people are calling me Swart Pete, that I'm dirty, my skin color. You know, it's very confusing and dramatic.
All right, family. So in closing, once again, you know, let's just come back to this right here. The origin of Christmas in Europe that eventually was bastardized in America started off with Sinterklaas, and his companion was a black demon named Krampus. All right? And Krampus was the basically companion of St. Nicholas, and whatever child was bad or naughty or whatever habit, he would take those children according to the legend, and he would drown them, or he would eat them, or he would take them to hell. In 1850, Krampus, the black devil, was replaced with a black man named Zwarte Piet, who had all the same characteristics. He was doing all the same things. Why did they do that? Because to the so-called white man that's a Christian, that's evil and cold-hearted, the black man is the devil. That's why they show you this image of Cesare Borgia, Caesar Borgia, as the fake Christ, knocking out a black devil, calling it the fall of Satan in Christianity. It's all the same. It's all the same. And you have black churches that honor this so-called holiday called Christmas. You have black churches that will have an image up of Cesare Borgia. So family, we got to continue to go hard. You know, don't let up, man. Continue to tighten the screws. And who don't like it, don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Most High will. We're going to camp tomorrow, and we're going to bring all this information out, because this is extremely important for our people to know. Because a lot of our people don't know this. They kind of know that Christmas is pagan. A lot of our people have woken up to that, and some of them are just doing it just to do it. Now, all of a sudden, every black person tell you, well, I'm just spending time with my family, which is a whole nother load of BS, really. But the point is that they kind of know now. Our people kind of have been hearing it, right? So they kind of moved themselves away from the tradition as far as the white Santa and the elves and stuff like that. But if you shouldn't be celebrating the holiday at all. If you have a problem with chattel slavery or whatever like that, this is not the holiday for you, because the Zwarte Piet was a slave. That's what he was. So we have to bring this information to our people, family. It's really, really, really important. And make sure that if you know anybody that's a part of the conscious community, man, if they're dealing with Kemet, or if they West African, or whatever the hell they want to call themselves, if they're celebrating Christmas, you need to hit them upside the head. It is impossible for you to be conscious and celebrating Christmas, family. All right. So with that, let me just give a couple of shout outs to my peoples that I see a lot of people have come on the call. I'm about to get off right now. Of course, my brother Claude White, my man 50 grand. Much love to you. Tamika Yevra, much love to you. Lions Den, the Lions Den, much love to you, brother. Apostles for Yahweh Shem Yahweh, much love to you. Obadiah Yedida, much love to you. Sakari, Seattle, my brothers on the West Coast. Shalom to you brothers as well, man. Y'all brothers in Sakari, y'all putting in major pain, man. Just keep doing it, man. Y'all doing a great, awesome job, man. Definitely, I pray that the Most High continue to use y'all young brothers and build y'all up. Y'all doing a great job. Who else, man? Elohim Beats. Not tonight, man. I have a calling number I'm gonna be giving y'all, so y'all can start calling in the future to these shows. I'm gonna be doing a lot more shows. I'm really kind of just testing out this new system that I'm using right here, as y'all can see, so just bear with me. But I'm gonna be giving y'all a call-in number so that y'all could call in sometimes, and we could definitely chop it up, because I want to chop it up with the people. All right. So, Lionheart, shalom to you. Chocolate City Girl, shalom to you. Mac News 144, of course, shalom to you as always. Once again, before I let y'all go, nobody go nowhere yet. Once again, very important. You saw a lot of camps keeping the Feast of Dedication in December. And we see that Purim is coming up. So based on the calendar that most of the camps were using, if we would have used that calendar, we would have been having Passover in March. What you'll notice a lot of camps are doing, a lot of camps are having Passover 1 month later in April. And so I've been getting a lot of calls, a lot of inboxes from brothers that are trying to learn the calendar and find out why it is that we're having Passover in April and not March. All right? It's very important. So we're going to explain this to you on Sunday. Most High will, 3 p.m. right here on Maccabees TV. I'm going to bring 2 elders on the phone, and we're going to go over how and why we're supposed to keep the high holy days in their season. Had we had Passover this year in March, it would have still been in winter, literally, because spring doesn't come in until the end of March. And the way that the calendar was set up, it was coming in early March, within the first 2 weeks. That's off. That's off. So I'm going to bring brothers on the channel on Sunday, and brothers are going to break it down. The same way that we can go into all this stuff and break down these pagan holidays that really mean nothing to us as Israelites, we need to be just as adept in our high holidays. We need to know the who, what, where, when, and why. Why are we having it in April and not March? If you want to know, make yourself available Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. That'll be 12 p.m. Pacific time if you're on the West Coast. Make yourself available. Be here on Maccabees TV. I'm going to have Elder Mathathua from the Apostles of New Jerusalem. And I'm going to have one of the elders from my camp as well, the brother that took over the calendar duties when Bonloya passed away. I'm going to have them on the channel, and they're going to be going over that. Very important. All right, so with that, family, I say peace and blessings to y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. And I will see you, brothers and sisters, the next show. I say shalom.